Hello, my name is Hillary Boyce. I'm so excited to be here. I am the CEO for BAFO Services. We're a small business that helps government contract companies navigate that pipeline into competitive proposals. We're in the Hampton Roads area, but we also have a geographic footprint outside of this. We're so excited to be here today. Thank you for having me.
Hello, everybody. I'm Greg Tomczyk. Welcome to the Connected Mindset Podcast, where each week we bring you the stories to better connect with the world around you. Let's dive into this week's podcast.
Hillary Boyce, with all of the transitions that you've been through, what comes to mind when you think about transition for you and then the transitions that other people are going through or going to go through?
Well, for me, when I think of transitions, I automatically go back to transitioning from the military to getting out. I know there's lots of other transitions, but for me, and I think for a lot of people in my network and my ecosystem for business, that's the biggest life-changing struggle, dynamic transition. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was from Army. I was in the Army. I was stationed in Germany when I got out. So, logistically, that was a little bit challenging. I had a baby toddler in tow, which was another great struggle. But that for me, that was my transition from military to civilian. But for me, it was kind of smoother than what it could have been because I immediately stepped into the government contract world, which not wearing a uniform, but it's the same lingo, same mission, same people, same building, same stuff, just not in uniform.
How big was the culture shift from military base in Germany to going into, defense contracting like back in the States? Where did you start in Germany doing it? And then
I started in Germany doing it. So I got out of the Army in Germany, stayed there as a contractor with my toddler already going to the daycare and the school he was going to as the first step in my transition. But it's still all governed by stateside, per se. The Federal Acquisition Regulation is the whole governing principle. But I was a employee at that time of a company that was stateside. Mm-hmm. And so actually, ironically, my first job was helping others transition. I was working in the transition office where I was doing the military paperwork to the orders and the separation and discharge documents for folks that were transitioning out. Transition's been a big part of my transition and helping folks transition. So, yeah, but in Europe, it's tough because people are getting out there, whether they're injured, military wartime injuries or whatever elements, or just expiration time of service. It's kind of hard whenever you're looking for a stateside job or you don't know where you're going, when you can't just drive, 2 hours away the next day to an interview as easy as what you could do kind of stateside. But so that's kind of one of the reasons I stayed in Germany as my first transition. I know a lot of people do it for different reasons, whether it's married to a local national or, just loving the culture. But for me, I stayed there just for that first easy step. But then 2 years later, I moved back to the States with a promotion as a contractor.
Interesting. What do you think? What do you think? You struggled with most in your transition, and then as you saw packages come through of other people transitioning and trying to move into what can be, a completely different world of like the military structure. People are telling you what to do, and then you go to maybe an environment where people don't have the roadmap for you.
Yeah. Well, it's always a transition. It's always an adjustment. For me, I feel like I thrived in it. I was the youngest child growing up with my household, all brothers. So I was constantly kind of told what to do. So I was excited about, let me tell myself what to do. Let me figure this out. Let me mess up. Let me figure out how to adjust. Let me have those lessons learned. I didn't start my first company until years later of being an employee. But I probably didn't do the best due diligence initially of shadowing another entrepreneur, learning stuff. Like I had my own hiccups and you learn that as you go. But I think that for me was, I wanted to kind of figure out what my path was. And I still probably am figuring out that. I think we all are.
Yeah, we are.
But that was exciting to me is let's see what happens,
Yeah, the uncertainty I think is also exhilarating is like, you didn't have potentially an entrepreneur to shape your business around.
Right.
But now you're able to give entrepreneurs that person to help guide them and mentor them and coach them. It's it's the concept of solving a problem or giving others something you wish you had. I think that's so important
Absolutely.
during transition.
And let people know that these resources are here,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah. What was the, so like German culture, that obviously it was a U.S. military base.
Yes.
But did you pick anything up there that impacted your mindset, the way you look at the world?
I don't know about that. I was stationed at an army base called Hanau, Germany, which I think is actually closed down now. It's an aviation unit. And I lived off base. So the transition of having to move physically to another residence wasn't there. I lived off base. I already had my child going to a local German school that was spoken English, which was another struggle. But, you know, it just, I think I learned there the power of your network also, you know, because you need to learn. Just for example, I started teaching English classes like on the side to the local nationals, just to kind of also help me have my own network. Like I knew who to get the best firewood that would be delivered tomorrow when you were out. Like, you know, the things that you don't know if you just stay in your little group that you become networked with. Yeah,
it's like where to go to get the essentials that you need.
Yeah. Yeah. Or where you don't want to buy a car from, where you do want to buy a car from, where, you know, how to get your heating oil filled, you know, just the things that, and just, it wouldn't be that severe, I guess, if you just moved from one town to the next here, but it's just great to like make your own little network. Mm-hmm. People want to help. People, I think generally people, no matter where you're at, they want to help, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely have the resourcefulness. Maybe that's just come through time of, you know, making different decisions, figuring out what's right and wrong. But I think that core principle of people want to help, but you have to ask.
Yeah. You have to ask the question.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I see you got this. How'd you get it? How'd you go about it? Where, you know?
Yeah.
Hey, I just moved here. I don't have a clue. What should I do?
Yeah, right.
I could go in every direction though. So a little bit more would be great.
Yeah, exactly. Transitioning out of baseball for me, and a lot of our listeners are transitioning out of something, whether it's military or baseball. And there was a lot of identity crises of, you know, I am a military person, like labeling ourselves. Yeah. How were you able to get out of that? Or was it just in your inherent nature to not look at yourself as just kind of by what you were doing? Like, what was the way to get out of that identity?
Like, I wasn't a 20-year military service member that retired, so maybe that was a little bit easier for me. You know, I did 2 years in the National Guard before I went active, 4 years active. So, you know, I was a veteran, but I was immediately looking for my next path, you know. So for me, it was just like a stepping stool. It wasn't a identity change. But I know for some, especially the 20-year, 30-year service members, that may be a little bit different. But for me, it was just a tool. You know, the military showed me some great stuff. It opened some doors, made some great connections and networks to then the next chapter for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like one of your superpowers, and this may have come just, you know, from your upbringing, from the military, from helping people transition, is you're able to help others probably by helping yourself first, like build momentum in the right direction.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? And do you feel that yourself? Like, you know, I'm able to build momentum because I take small actions each day or whatever that is.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I take care of myself as good as I should. I don't sleep. You know, I'm trying to work on that. That's going to be my New Year's resolution, is to work on myself a little bit better. I think we're all probably guilty of taking care of others first, but that's kind of how I've been coping, especially with grief and stuff. Is I've just been focused on helping others more. But I think personally, I get that from my mother. My mother was she was a educator her entire life. She was a missionary in Kenya, which definitely sparked something in me to continue to do missions. I do mission trips every year.
Yeah.
Just like Kenya, she has a heart for Kenya. Mm-hmm. So I think my mother kind of by watching, by seeing that example, just her generosity of helping the less fortunate is something I think. I don't necessarily say that I'm helping less fortunate with my business model, but I still think it's a good practice with just your general life.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us are good leaders if we're not doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How have the mission trips and, you know, seeing your mom do the mission trips? Did you go on them as a kid, or was
I
was
never
that her
did
own
them
thing?
as a kid? Well, I mean, I no, my son did. My son went with her when he was a teenager, during the summers to Kenya and stuff. I couldn't. I was already off to the military and working. When you're young, you can't really take off. But she did. She started doing that once me and my brothers all got to the age where she could do that. She did that during the summers, and then she started doing it longer than that once we left. So I never went on them with her, but I've gone on them independently, since I've been an adult, whether it was just to Costa Rica or, overseas, which, it's life-changing event. I wanted my son to go because, spoiled kids in America don't realize, the heartbreak that the others don't even complain about.
Yeah.
So I think it would be humbling for every teenager to go to something like that. So my son went. He was grateful. I'm grateful he went. My goal was to go every year. Every year, I'd like to continue to go to Kenya to give and to help with my hands and my blessings. But
sometimes we, especially when we're going through uncomfortable situations like transition, we create our own problems.
Oh yeah.
And I think culture shocks like that. I did it through baseball, where we would go to like Cuba or we'd go to the Dominican Republic, and you walk away with a renewed focus on what's important.
Oh yeah.
So I'm curious what have been some impacts you've seen from doing those mission trips.
When we go to Kenya, we work in orphanages, we work at domestic violence centers, we work with kids that have never had their own bed, their own room, whether they were given up or their parents were able or they were already predeceased. And just to see how much they love, and as a tribe, they take care of each other. It's just, it's great restoring that in your life, and knowing that no impact we can do, which is little to us, helps drastically for them. So I kind of tell myself that I work hard all year round so I can do that here. And once a year is just a drop in the bucket, of course, but it's a step.
Yeah. What have you seen from the way that they communicate? I saw other cultures in baseball, because that was kind of like their tribe, was they wouldn't really go to school. They would just play the game. And they had a lot of nonverbal communication. Obviously they yell at each other and they have fun and things of that nature. But I noticed that the way that they communicated and connected with each other was different than how I grew up, which is a lot of, if you feel a certain way, you try to put words to it. Have you seen anything communication-wise with those mission trips because they have such love and happiness?
They do, and gratefulness. I don't know how to translate it. I mean, they those kids that are in the orphanages, from, the 1-year-old to the teenager. The teenagers just immediately are rocking the babies to sleep and just jumping in, I mean, they're not blood, but they just build their own little family with what they have and take care of each other. And that's beautiful to see.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Even feeding them or giving them the last bite. We've seen all that.
Yeah. The selflessness.
Yeah.
So going from working for a company to starting your own, like, what was the driver that either a sign you got from the outside or you wanted more freedom? Like, what was it for you that made you make that jump between employee and...
The first company that I own, I started that without a plan, truthfully, which is probably not advised for many. I didn't do my due diligence of, researching the market and having a plan, having to immediately customer ready. The National Defense Authorization Act then had just changed some women set aside rules in the government acquisition world. And so I'm like, well, hey, I'm a woman, I'm a veteran, maybe I should take advantage of this. And so I just Googled, how to register a company. Next thing I know, I registered a company and here we are. And the company I was with at that time was a large company, and they were just going through mergers and acquisitions. And it was kind of scary in the hallways, so there already was this tense of who was getting laid off today. And I was reassured that I wasn't going to be part of that. But every day you saw more and more. It's a little scary. I was a single mom, so I said, let me start this and let me see what I could do. So my first company, I kind of started it out of a little bit of uncertainty with that situation going on. And, I knew government contracting. I knew, let me start small. Let me try to win my first one. Well, luck of the day, I won my first small government contract the first month in business because I knew the art of submitting the proposals, responding. And so luckily I won my first government contract company, which was a hospice and bereavement contract where I was providing hospice counselors to a Veterans Affairs location for those that were fallen and going through the last stage of their life, which was meaningful to me. And the even better thing is I was able to put people that were doing this job as a volunteer to work, getting paid for doing what they loved. So,
Wow.
it was like a perfect storm. That's not always the perfect storm, of course, but that was a perfect storm for me, which touched me a lot. And I wanted to do a mission that works. And my first company contract I won was that.
Wow.
So, yeah.
It's full circle.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and part of what I kind of did as a contractor was casualty support kind of affairs. And I still do that today. I still manage the casualty affairs operation at Dover Air Force Base, where all the any overseas casualty anywhere, Iraq, Syria, it comes back to, and we process their remains and their personal effects, and we arrange the family to be there. So I still manage that contract today at Dover. So I've been a part of that whole process for a long, long time.
Did that happen through that first contract, or was
No.
that something that you kind of manifested before?
It manifested before. So my first large company employer, that was one of their big contracts in their portfolio. At that time, it was a big contract because it was a lot of operations happening, a lot of deaths happening in different overseas operations. Today, it's not as much, but there's been valleys and peaks during up-tempo changes where, we've had hundreds at a time to having, a dozen a month. It's right now it's very slow, but we have to be that mission. We have to make sure we maintain, and I'm the program manager for it today. So I'm up at Dover twice a month. We have to maintain a part-time on-call force because we have to be surgical. Mm-hmm. If the sky falls and we're in mass casualty somewhere, and we have to, because there's this time frame we have to keep up with, regardless to getting their returns, their personal effects return to their survivors.
Interesting.
So it's a surgical, cleared workforce. We have to keep part-time on call, folks, just in case.
Yeah, it's almost like you're the bridge between such a hard, difficult time for the people around them, but obviously themselves. And
well, and the funny thing about it, I used to manage like the Army's medical evaluation boards when folks were injured and being medevaced from combat. It could be combat, it could be basketball, it could be whatever related. But when I was at Walter Reed and I was managing that operation, that was heavy. It was heavy. A lot of mental things that you would take home with you every day and think about their families. And next thing you know, you're Googling to see if this W amputee, did he have a wife at home? It just kind of haunted you. And it got to the point where the military gentleman that I worked for at that time, that was in charge, I said, I just can't do it anymore. I did it for years. The medical boards. I managed it, put people in place, all the centers. And it wasn't slowing down at that point. And he kind of convinced me, hey, have you thought about the casualty side? It's already done. Now you're just helping the survivors. It won't maybe be as mentally trauma and heartbreaking. I bought that. And so anyway, that's what this is all about.
Yeah, you have a very caring heart, and I think people see that, so they put you in roles and positions that they know somebody can withstand the hardship, which is a heavy role to be in. I'm sure. It is,
yeah.
Did you have medical desires as a kid? Like, did you gravitate towards like medical TV shows?
I never thought about it, but my first job ever in my life was working at a nursing home where I was like a feeder. And, I fed those that probably weren't eating anymore or were in their last phases of life. And so that wasn't like a CNA certified job, but that was like my first job, which I loved. And I guess maybe that did plant a seed of, I never thought about that. I guess so.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, I'm a firm believer that things in life kind of happen like that, where things we either push away or the unexpected, but it leads back to something like being in that nursing home, and then, being in a role now where, family members may be looking for you to shed light on something that they're processing. And you've seen it a couple of times, so kind of how to help them work through that, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, this episode is sponsored by my company, Valor Cybersecurity, where we help defense contractors navigate the uncharted waters of cybersecurity compliance. As a cyber attack victim myself, I know the impact that this plays in people's lives, and at Valor, we solve that each and every day. If you're a defense contractor feeling frustrated and confused when it comes to cybersecurity compliance, visit valor-cybersecurity.com, take our free assessment, and get started on your journey to clarity in cybersecurity.
So the first company that you had was getting contracts. Were the contracts all over the place, or were
all
they
over the place? Yeah. Hawaii, Pennsylvania, Corpus Christi, Texas, Marine Corps, Quantico. Yeah. So some people, their business model is to get contracts just within a certain state or whatever. But I kind of knew with government contract, you can manage them no matter where you're at. So I had a couple of company certifications, the women-owned, the service disabled-owned, where I was able to get my goal was going after little contracts here and there to slowly build capabilities and scope.
Yeah.
Because, I knew that I didn't want to be one of those companies. I know them. I hear them from them all the time. Hey, my goals of growth is to market and talk to my large business friends. They're going to subcontract me. I didn't want to ever be that company that went to a meeting with a large company without having my own. This is what we're doing. I wanted to have my own slide deck and my own, past performance, and then come to you and be like, hey, this is what we offer. Mm-hmm. That was kind of like my goal initially, and it worked. I was like 2.5 years in the business, and I slowly started getting a couple acquisition offers at the same time, which I'm like, I wasn't even considering selling, but if they're coming at the same time, is that like a sign or what's going on? And so I kind of brainstormed with a couple of my mentors, and like, hey, Hillary, maybe you should consider them. Maybe you should think about it. This could be a time for you to reset, take all those lessons learned to the next. You're not. They said your energy is not going to slow down. So it's not like this is a one and done.
So you going back to that momentum point. It seems like a common theme that you don't over anticipate rapid growth. So you're going fast, but you want to grow slow. And I think that continuous momentum, it like helps you inherently grow fast.
Well, in my definition of growing fast and yours might be two different things. Yeah. Like I remember I got a call when I was like in my first couple of months in my first business from a local company, large business down the road that I became partners with. It says, hey, Hillary, we just won this big contract. We have to have a small business set aside of a certain percentage because I checked those boxes. Can I give you 20 positions today to fill on this contract that we already won? It wasn't even like, let's start working it together and doing the whole capture. It's in the bag. It's won, which is a great call to get. I mean, that's a call everybody wants. So initially I'm like, yeah, this is great. And then I hang up and I'm like, wait, hold on, I had to call him back. Like, I can't take on 20 people's payroll month one. Like, it's just me. There's no partner, there's no bank, I'm like, I need to like not take 20 month one because that's a big impact. How are you going to pay them? How are you going to, do all these things that you just have to do for the cash flow? Yeah. So I called him back and I'm like, hey, I just had a moment to think. I'm like, I really appreciate that, but can we start off with you giving me just 2 this month, and then I can be your rapid filling the positions as they come vacant, and I'll keep a pool ready all the time. I'll be ready to quickly make sure that's a good transition for the customer, and then I can get 1, 2 here and there as vacancies come. And they're like, yeah, that's good. That'd be good for us. So I was forthright because I'm like, I'm a small business, and they sometimes large businesses forget that. But if you be honest with them and say, hey, I don't want to take on more than I can chew financially from a overhead standpoint. Yeah. And so that worked out.
Calculated risk. Yeah.
Yeah. But, normally that call is what people are going to be like, yeah, I want that. Don't turn it down. Well, hold on. Because even, I've now learned the cost of money
Yes.
and, those things that initially you would jump on that, oh, hold up. Let's just get your first 2. Let's get one more the following month. Let's slowly put mechanisms in place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great lesson learned.
Yeah. Everybody's looking for the big, huge win.
Yeah. Well, hold up. You really don't, So and so my goal was then for my first company was I wanted the 2-person contract. I wanted the 3-person contract. I wanted to slowly build that. And, because each profit from one month is going to the payroll cost for the next. But I thought I was going slow. I really did. But then you realize that I've won 2 contracts a month. Mm-hmm. And so there really is no time to get the profits from one contract to help pay for the next. So I quickly learned that, I'm sure SBA has some great programs now, but then nobody would talk to you until you had 2 years of business tax returns for financials, for financing. Well, I hope not to need financing in 2.5 years. I need it now, the first year, the second year. And I have contracts. I've written, signed, government-funded contracts. But I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Learned a lot.
Is that something you hope to, or is that something that either has changed or that you hope to change, where companies need the runway and the opportunity up front? Yeah. Maybe they don't need it at 2 years. And I think that's a government system thing that...
Or maybe they need it every step, exactly. Because, again, I was 100% owner. It was just me going back. I probably would have had a 49% co-owner that had a good wallet and let me do what I want, But, you don't know the parts that you need then. But then that's why, my second company now, the business model, is I didn't want to have to do that. I wanted to be an hourly support. Yeah. And I didn't want to have a bunch of staff. That was my goal. Initially, I was going to be just me. Yes. That didn't stay that way long.
It just seems like organic growth. And I think that's a lot of business owners force it. They want the 100 employees or the 500 employees. Right. So because they want it so bad, it typically doesn't happen. Yeah. Or it takes longer because we're trying to force something. And it just seems like there's something, and I'm trying to get to the foundational level of how do you just have hope in that growth is going to happen? And you've been able to do it organically. And I think that is so rare in the world today, is that organic, trusting the process and just being I just need 2 contracts a month versus I need to go team with Lockheed and get this big contract and it's going to save the world.
Yeah. But 2 a month is still a lot.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Most people would love to win 2 contracts a month. It's scary because you got to put everything in place. You got to scramble. You got to, all the things you got to make happen.
Yeah. Was there anything in your first business that somebody that is starting their first company, transitioning out of an industry into starting their own thing, is there anything in your first company, besides the partnership, the investors, the thinking through opportunities, anything big you learned that they can take away from?
Lots. I learned a lot from my first company that I took to my second company, and that I take to my clients, or people that I talk to. The overhead. People forget about the overhead. You can't just magically, I'm starting a company, it's going to be great. You have to have HR people. You have to have policies. You have to have assets. You have to have a payroll systems, email accounts. All of those things cost, So I've always been one, I advise it to my clients. And, I don't want anyone to get mad at me because if it's what they're selling, but you don't need to immediately go buy a $20,000 CRM month one in business if you don't even have to. Let's do things that make sense. You don't need to go buy that subscription, to resume database if you only need to hire 2 people a year. Let's think slowly about what you need. Don't commit to things until you slowly need it. It's great when the owner has skill sets to do the different things that are needed. And there's a lot of resources out there where you can, like our company, we're hourly support. We're hourly support as needed to clients. They don't have to automatically buy the full monster, $10,000 a package a month. No, they can use us for 5 hours a month. They can use us for none next month. They can, it's those things. Sharing resources. I've always kind of built little networks with myself of other entrepreneurs. And they could be totally different. I remember a couple of years ago, I had this little lunch entrepreneur thing that I would set up. And once a month we'd have lunch, different business owners, different assets. But we were able to share, who do you get your liability insurance from? How'd that work? who do you use for payroll processing? Or, just asking other entrepreneurs, or, I have a great HR person who just wrote my affirmative action plan. Can I borrow her for 2 hours? Sure. Let me borrow your accounting guy for 2 hours.
Yeah.
How great is that? I mean, the whole barter with your other friends or entrepreneurs, I think we don't do enough of, though, and we should. And, I have my clients do that. Like, them. I won't name names today, but, if I have a great company that their main resource is recruiting, and I have another company, their main resource is helping other companies get their IT security standards, and they need each other. Yeah. Why don't y'all barter this out? Because you're doing different things, but you need each other. So, like, use each other in this world.
Yeah.
It might not be a cash flow. It might be just a services exchange, but for the good, you're collaborating and you're expanding your networks and helping each other.
And sometimes there's more value there than the money that comes in, and how far the cost of dollars, and how you can spend that value in different ways to build your organization.
Yeah, I mean, I did that. There's been many times where, hey, can you help design this and get my website going? I'll do this for you. Okay, sure. Like, it's just the things that you do and need internally. It comes back. It comes back. Whether they did a great job and just walk away, or you did a good job and they walk away and they refer someone else to you that's then paid. I mean, it's just part of business.
Yeah.
But I love bartering for the free trades up front. I think every company should take advantage of that.
Yeah, definitely.
If they're in the position to make the decisions, it's a win-win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to get creative, especially early on, and you got to get more creative as it gets bigger, because bigger decisions come up.
Yep. And then you have more people involved and more process and more time.
Yeah. I hear a lot of just hiring friction, and I think it's always been this way in different generations, but I know for a lot of business owners that are go-getters, I know you're one of those people that operate at extremely high level. Sometimes it can seem like the people you hire, because they're not at that level of movement, it can be frustrating.
To them or to me?
To you.
Both.
Or both.
I think both.
Yeah. Because you're like, go. And then, they're like, I can't move that fast. I'm not able to, or I don't think the same. So how have you navigated that whole equation?
I think I'm finally at the place where I know that it takes all kinds. Not every hire is going to be like you. Not every hire is, because like me is that I'm a little crazy. Like, I email at 2 a.m. I email at 4 a.m. I'm up working my best, documents at 3 a.m. Like, because I'm in meeting all day, so I work weekends, I work holidays, I go on a lot of cruises, but guess what? I'm working on every one of them. And so I kind of don't stop. And all my staff know that. So I usually try to reinforce this a lot to them during the first month of, listen, just because you get an email or text from me, like at 1 a.m., like, I'm not expecting a response. I'm just getting it off my deck as I think and the thoughts come, or else I'll forget. Yeah. So, like, put your stuff on vibrate or mute during the night, because you might get stuff from me, but I'm not expecting you to, like, be that. Like, so, you have some employees and some staff and team members that are going to be like, hey, I want 80 hours a week. I want to be whatever you need. Some people are like, hey, I just want to be this. Okay, cool. But when and it's clear, like, hey, I don't bother them on the weekend. Okay. Or they do want to work the weekends. Okay. So as long as it takes all to fit, because we have, in our business, we have urgent fires that come Friday night that are due Monday morning to the government, and I got, so you have all that fit. So I think it's a good blend to have them all. And to be honest with them and say, tell me when you've had enough and you're, but I kind of put that on them. I want my staff to tell me, hey, I'm at capacity, no more, or give me more, whatever. I don't have enough. Because not everybody works the same speed. No. Everyone wants to, and I get that. Everyone's at different, whether they're parents, whether they're moms, whether they're just, enjoying a show, whatever. That's their business.
Yeah.
And I have part-time resources that I know that only want to work 20 hours a week. I got some that, again, want to work that 80 hours a week. But it takes all kinds to fit into the whole equation, I think.
Yeah, it's hard not to, especially when and you see the bird's eye view of the business, to, like, somebody can do something, but they're still not doing it like that way. And there's this feeling of, like, giving them the freedom to, like, fall and fail and then eventually figure it out. But with the tight timelines, sometimes, like, I have to step in and I have to get it done.
Yeah.
So have you found any good way to, and I'm sure it's trial and error, but just to give them the freedom, but also make sure you're still upholding the service standard?
Yeah, so there's a tough line. I hope that my clients, and if my clients are watching this, please do this if you're not, like they immediately raise a flag if they feel like something's not timeline or where it is. Of course, you can't submit government proposals late, but before that, should the first version draft 2 weeks prior be better? How do we put more hands on deck if it's not? Let's get it developed. We try to always do government proposals with a timeline of way aggressively working it. So it's not there's time to recover. If whether it's our staff or one of their reviewers or writers doesn't come through with what, we have time to recover. We have time to put another asset to it. But it's one of them things that proposals, each client wants it a different way. So we have to get to know their nuances and their how they like it or how they think they like it. But then we also bring in, hey, this is industry standard today. This is what, you may not have seen this, but we do red team, we do yellow, we do white team, we do this. Oh, we just don't review it 2 days before it's due. Oh, no, we do more than that. So we try to bring that to them. But I my team always knows they're not alone. So if they, they have an emergency or something happens, there's more than one of my staff member that knows a client and knows their documents, so they can immediately jump in and have other assets. We have a great support staff.
Yeah, I've definitely experienced that. Do you feel like you need rigid measures of people, like metrics, where you're like, you have to have this due date down, and you have to, like, do you feel like you have to have that for people to succeed and excel?
I feel like yes, we're strictly calendar driven. Timelines, calendars. And so my staff members, like the ones that don't last the first month, it's because the responsiveness stinks. We have timelines and a schedule for a reason. I'm a big responsiveness important person. But at the same time, I feel like I can teach staff certain factors of the trait, but if they don't have like a core in them about responsiveness and timeliness and self-management, I can't teach that. And so I don't really try to mold that. Like if it's a new hire and they don't have that and I see that, it's best that we just go and part ways to go see what different. Because I don't want to devote my time or my staff's time for all of that. Like, I know there's a place for everybody, but their place probably isn't with us. I
mean, not everybody's right for the team.
So usually that's discovered the first day, or the first week, or real soon.
What is responsiveness, mean to you and the general person that joins your team? Is it getting back to you in 24 hours? Is it getting back to you as soon as they can? What does that feel like to you?
Well, typically, the proposal managers that I have that have been with me a while, they work pretty independently, directly with the client. So I'm usually not involved in their daily actions. Usually they come to me whenever, hey, look at this, I'm stuck. What do you think? Like that kind of scenario. But responsiveness to a new hire, which I don't automatically give free rein to direct client engagements. Usually they're behind the scenes. If they miss a deadline to me, and there's no prior communication. Hey, I had a challenge. I have a question. I started this and I'm stuck. Could you look at this? If they just come back and, hey, it's late, or, they're not going to get another assignment from me. That's kind of how it works. And I usually test my new hires out. The first week, I'm going to give them an assignment of some document that I need the first draft in like 5 days, which is, to me, kind of reasonable. But I kind of expect them to have started it, ask questions day 3. Hey, can we look at where I'm at day 4 and make sure I'm on the right track? That's what you want. Not here's something that may be way off or way not, but that's kind of how I kind of test some of the new stuff.
Trial period. That's a good way to do it.
And I pair them up with someone that's been on my team for a while too, so they kind of know. And that's what your clients want,
You're giving them an opportunity to build trust versus just trusting by default and saying like, you got it, you're good to go.
Right, because we're that resource to help our clients that are busy doing delivery of whatever they do. So if we're not the responsive behind the scenes making it happen, they don't need us. But they do, because, we let them have their weekends, we're working on the proposals. We let them have their vacations, we're working on the proposals. We let them focus on the other parts of business while we just help with that.
You've had a lot of great, leadership experience, military, a lot of transitions. What's next for Hillary? What's on the roadmap for, obviously you're doing what you're doing with your company and all those great things and in the community, and anything on the horizon? Obviously more sleep into 2026.
More sleep would be nice. So, I've been thinking and brainstorming about some possible political endeavors. Don't quite know what seat or where that looks like, but I'm open to see what kind of falls together in the next couple of years to maybe something politically.
Yeah.
Just want to help and do some good.
Yeah. Yeah. You're already doing it. You're already doing it. Maybe it's just a same perspective, new seat. So there's a lot of possibility, and you're in a role now, and you've been in roles since you got out of the military that have a lot of visibility to the changes that are taking place in the ecosystem. And if you look at, what you do, you're helping your clients manage change, and the world's going to constantly continue to change, and in many ways, both politically and community wise. So excited to see how that unfolds and to continue to follow your journey and all the great things you're putting out. One of the ways we like to close up the show, because we're all about connection and feeling connected to something that has value to us and something that means something to us, and bringing that to the outside world. I'm curious what the word connection means to you.
I would have to say twofold. Connection first is my team. Stay connected, not just work and products and deadlines. How are they doing? How's your father doing? How's your kids doing? How's your move going? Stay connected to them, because, everyone knows that they're your best asset, but they're people too, and that's important. They will have your back, but you have to make sure you have those. And then your network, your professional network. Keep it expanding, keep connected, because you never know what door may open where, they could be a resource to you, or vice versa. So your connections, your network, keep it active, keep it moving.
Hillary Boyce, thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you so much for listening. If you're feeling more connected from this episode, please like, subscribe, and share with someone that you care about. And I'll see you on the next episode of the Connected Mindset Podcast.